We have a lot to get to. Seraphim, an investor in all kinds of different space assets. And it's the space asset that I think is central to this SpaceX IPO story. My reporting is that they want to raise the capital for the SpaceX AI cluster, the SpaceX AI stack, space-based data center. Your reaction to that, Will?
Well, I think that's probably right. And I think that this is a seismic event for the entire space industry. We're not going to see the like of this. I think it's going to cause huge changes to the companies that are suppliers to SpaceX, to the whole massive kind of environment that they've created, particularly in the United States and in the UK. Some companies, there's a company in the UK called Filtronic, for example, which has become a major supplier to SpaceX. Many of the companies in the Seraphim portfolio, they launch on SpaceX rockets. Starlink has obviously, when you link Starlink to AI, to data centers, you are seeing an entire ecosystem of businesses growing up. And many other constellations will benefit from this. There'll be in-orbit servicing, more data analytics coming out through the space industry. Space and AI will become interlinked in a way they've never been before. I mean, space really is going through a lot of change as it goes through this industrial revolution.
Will, we're going to question, report on, react to wherever the valuation of this company settles. My reporting, again, is that the target, based on what they want to raise, the percentage of the company they offer, $1.5 trillion. But macro, this is an industry, private commercial space that's growing. What is Seraphim seeing? What are the numbers that you're tracking on how an industry is basically growing out of SpaceX's wake?
Well, I'll give you an example. We've got one of the biggest companies in our portfolio is called ICEYE, which has this very special kind of aperture radar. The demand for it has gone through the roof. ICEYE's business plan has ended up being 2 years ahead of plan. They're in profit already, and they've just in the process of a very big fundraise. Other companies like Hawkeye 360, Satellite View, Allspace, all of these companies in our portfolio are all doing very well and getting ahead of their business plans very rapidly, because the demand for data from space is going through the roof for both climate change, defense, national security, communications. I mean, everything is relying more and more on space. And of course, as people get scared about the underground and undersea cables that supply the internet, the demand for internet data from space is starting to rise as well in the fintech sector. So everything is happening all at once. The insurance companies want space data because they realize it's more accurate than ground-based data for agricultural assets, buildings, infrastructure projects. So you've got insurance demand, agricultural demand, climate change demand, and now defense demand rocketing ahead since Ukraine and the Middle East happened over the last 3 years. And indeed, I got an OBE today from Prince William, which is one of the first in the space industry, to show that even royalty are catching up. And one of the first things he asked me was what I thought was going on in the space industry at the moment from the UK standpoint.
Well, for our audience around the world outside of the UK, obviously I originate from the United Kingdom, an OBE, Officer of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Awarded to you this morning by Prince William. And I understand that you then ran to be here on the show, and that actually Prince William may be tuning in and a fan of the show anyway. Appreciate that.
That's true. That's very true.
I believe in transparency on this program. One thing that we should have done to start is, what is Seraphim's exposure to SpaceX? Have you any skin in the game?
No, we don't have a stake in SpaceX. Only a couple of British investment trusts do have stakes, both of them Scottish-based. Seraphim, when we started, it was too late to get into SpaceX at that time, which is a shame. But we have a lot of exposure to companies that I think are going to really benefit from this huge ecosystem of new investment that SpaceX will create. And I'm looking personally at other companies that will benefit. And in fact, I bought a stake in one today, which I think will be a beneficiary. This will have, as I said, a seismic effect on an industry already undergoing an industrial revolution. It is going to be, for me as an old hand, I mean, I'm 65 now. And I was around in the days when the Netscape moment happened in 1995, which kicked off that range of internet investment that we still see today. And I think that this is the space equivalent happening right now.
Will, do you want to tell us what the company is that you invested in this morning?
Well, Seraphim doesn't have a stake in it. There's a company called Filtronic PLC.
Let me ask this then. Let me ask this. You are 65 years old. Thank you for sharing that with our audience. Elon Musk is 54. He's committed to Tesla for 10 years. We just have 30 seconds. But is it realistic that this man leads two public companies at that scale for the long term?
Well, this is going to be a big question around the IPO, obviously, of SpaceX. Is he going to spend more time on SpaceX with this size of fundraise, or is he going to carry on in his Tesla environment as well? Both companies will be quoted. Both will be some of the biggest companies in the world. And you're quite right. This is going to be an issue that investors will look at very, very closely.